In July of 2022, there was a study done on the approval ratings of America's public schools. It was reported that 28% of Americans thought that public schools were satisfactory and were pushing students in the right direction. So that means that 72% of parents disapprove of the public school system. And it's been apparent ever since 2020 that public schools have been failing children, and they've been failing them for a long time. But now with the constant push with LGBTQ propaganda, with the constant push of critical race theory, and with the constant push of making your child into a future slave for people to control them in their work, it is exceedingly important that you protect your children in the public school system. And if you have to put them through the public school system, that they are not affected by its negative drawbacks. Hi, I'm Samuel Scott, and I'm here with my dad, Kenneth Scott, and we're here to discuss how to protect your kids from the public school trap. So, Dad, I want to start off by asking, you have two children. You have me and my sister. My sister's still in high school. She's a senior right now. So we're kind of past the schooling system and what it's done. But I want to ask you, throughout the years, what were some factors that you saw that public school may not be the best thing for us? And even though we went through it, that, maybe you wish there was some other options.
Okay. Well, the first thing is to keep track, I believe, of what your kid is hearing, seeing, and things of that nature in school. So, one of my first things, and I've told you before on a previous broadcast, the first thing that I would always do would be to ask you when you come home from school, how was school today? What did you do? And that would open up everything. You would say, we did this, or we studied about that, or, and we studied about, girls, or we studied about boys, or we studied. And so then that would give me a leeway into knowing what they were saying and what they were pushing at that time, and how they were pushing. Because there are times that at school, they may push certain political things which they have no business doing, that they should not be pushing, and therefore you want to be able to jump on that right away and correct it. For example, for the like the time that you come home and was talking about, is God real? And I go, what do you mean is God real? How do you know God is real? Well, you know God is real, and this is how you know. And as we start to talk about that, I'm able to express to you and to let you see the truth and make sure that information gets in you. But then at the same time, to let you know that the school will be pushing another message, that they're going to do that. And even with Jesse and with the whole, suicide bit or whatnot, they have no business talking to a third grader about suicide. It's totally ridiculous. That's not
And
what the kids.
what do you mean by that? I mean, for people who don't know, what bit are you talking about?
What do you mean now? Do you mean?
Well, you said that, with the suicide bit. What is that? I mean, there may
Oh,
be people who don't know the
with them,
situation, or
they this is what happened. This was when Jess was way back in the like third grade. She was in the third grade. And they started. They had a class to where they were teaching them, this is how you can ask for help. If you're having suicidal thoughts. Kids in a third grade level, they usually don't have no kind of thoughts like that. They don't have no thoughts like that until you put it in their head, until you say something to them about it. They know about ripping, running, and playing, and they're learning the things that they're learning, reading, writing, arithmetic, and so forth. But they have no thoughts about that. So, once she said that, I went, you got no business with that. We're not even going to talk about that. And that's not even going to be a thing. So don't even, they go to say something about this. You don't even pay attention to it. And you bring the information home to me. And they gave her some flyer, and I'll throw it in the trash, is what we'll do, because it's of no effect. And it's in order to groom the kids so that, those thoughts can get into your mind, so that now once you hear it, you can't unhear it. And then if they continue to push it, they're pushing a certain particular thought to go in your mind. And I thought it was ridiculous. Now, if I had my choice, like you started off in a private school, and I would have kept you in that private school. I couldn't at that time because of for financial reasons or whatnot. But if a parent could, I would suggest that they do. And especially more so in this day and age. I mean, I think that we got out just barely at the right time. With you graduating in 20 and Jess fixing to graduate now at 24, I think it's like at the right time, because now they have gone totally berserk with this LBGTQ DEI crap, that is just totally ridiculous. And and the whole bottom line is they want to destroy the family. They want to destroy the family, and they don't want you to have a God basis in a family. They don't want the core family to exist, because that's a core part of Western civilization. And the whole idea is to take Western civilization and take it out of society. They don't want it to exist. That's just the way that it is.
Correct. And so, like you said, that me and my sister got out at the right time. That
Mm-hmm.
the public school system, even though right now it's to an extreme, that 20 years ago and the experience you had with it may not be as bad as some parents right now who have to experience it for their children. I
Mm-hmm.
personally know some people who have children in kindergarten, in the first grade, and the second grade. What advice would you give to these parents of these younger kids that they may not be able to afford private school, they may not be able to afford these other things, or they may not be able to have the luxury of homeschooling, they have to put their children in public schools?
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to them to make sure, hey, my child doesn't get trapped in the system, and that they're safe and sound uh, throughout their schooling career?
Well, the biggest thing is to stay on top of what they're teaching them and what they're saying to them every single day. And you're going to have to do that for 12 years, for the 12 years that they are in school, or 13 counting the preschool year if you're going to school beforehand. But you're going to have to stay on top of what they're saying to your kids. What is it that they're presenting, even after they get into middle school or whatnot? Whenever they have the sex education, like I opted y'all out of certain things, out of certain sex education class and so forth, because of how they were teaching it and what they were saying about it. And I didn't want you to learn it from them. I'd rather you learn it from me, and for me to sit down and explain it to you, or to tell you, or whatnot. Because the way that they're going to present it is going to be with perversion. And there's no doubt that it's going to be with perversion. And it's in order to corrupt you. And so in order to not have to deal with that, you're going to have to stay on top of your kids every single day. And it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time for you, after school, whenever they're doing homework or whatnot, and you're helping them with their homework or asking them what was said in class and so forth. It's gonna take time, and you're gonna, sure, some nights you're gonna be tired, and you're not gonna want to, but I can assure you that it's better that you go ahead and make the sacrifice now, instead of having to deal with the problem later. Because it is an issue and it has gotten worse. Preferably it would be that the parents could put the kid in a private school. If they can't, then this is what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to stay on top of it. They're going to have to answer those questions every single day, and be with it. If you can afford, to either put your kids in homeschooling, or to go to a private school that you know that they're not teaching that they're teaching you a more of a godly base, then do so. And that even requires sacrifice. So you may be close to where you can afford it, and that you think you can pull it off, then do so, because it'll be way better than you having to deal with trying to get those things out of that kid once they're older. People used to talk to us about terrible twos and teenagers. Oh, teenagers, that's just the way teenagers are. Well, I don't believe that. And I didn't have such problems. I didn't have such issues with you guys. And it was because of how we believed in the beginning, and how we dealt with it in the beginning. And we started when you were small. And that is totally key. If you start with them when they're small, as you get older, certain things develop into a habit. And your studying developed into a habit, what you knew to say and not say, and what you knew to listen to and not listen to, what you knew to look at. You would come to us at times whenever we would leave you and Jesse looking at television, and then you would tell us, oh, I had to turn the TV because that's something that we can't see, that Jesse can't see, or we shouldn't be looking at. you know the way that you get that is that that's what you instill in those kids, but you also do it in front of the kids. You yourself can't be telling them, you can't be watching this, and then you're watching that in the front of them. Now, as they get older, yes, they're going to get exposed to certain things, certain languages. Everybody don't, because they're going to get exposed to some of that, and you will deal with that, but they will be undeveloped enough in order to be able to deal with it. So, yeah, those are the things that I would say, and that would be the way to start off, especially in order to raise them. I think y'all turned out just fine. I mean, everything that I can tell from coaches, the teachers, and all these things from y'all have turned out just fine. Graduating high school, graduating college, and y'all have turned out just fine.
Yes, sir. And so obviously there is an importance in instilling these things when your children are younger, so
Yeah,
that these values, these morals that you put in their minds, that they're already in their minds before they even hit kindergarten or before they hit preschool,
yeah,
because that what most of these teachers are targeting is they're teaching these kindergartners or preschoolers about the multiple genders, or about homosexuality, or
mm-hmm,
about critical race theory and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
So obviously there is an importance on starting young. And the last question here: what about those families that, look, we didn't start young, we have a child that's in middle school or maybe early high school right now, and look, they we put them through the school system and they're starting to rebel, or they're starting to do things that aren't in line with our values. What advice would you give to those families in flipping that script on that child and making sure they're on the right path before they hit real life, before they graduate high school?
Well, the first thing that I would say to you is to pray. I would tell you to pray over your kids, first of all. You pray over your kids, and you pray that God gives you the wisdom and knowledge of how to deal with them and how to show them these things. Now, as you begin to get the thoughts of how to show them what's right and what's wrong and so forth, you're going to have to be a doer of these things. You're going to have to not be cussing in the front of them. They're going to have to see you keeping your word. These things are going to have to be presented to them where you are doing them. The other thing that I would say to you to do is to sit down and talk with them, or to let them know that you're going to be making these changes, that these changes are going to happen, and that, we're going to go through some changes, and we're not going to do it a certain way because I believe that, it's going to make you turn out a certain way, or it's going to make you have to deal with some headaches and issues that you would not have to deal with. And in the process of explaining that to them, then they will see you performing these things. And therefore, when you correct them about what they're saying, or if they're wanting to go to the wrong place and be around the wrong people, they will understand. The best thing that you can possibly do when you're raising kids is to talk to them with understanding. Let them know why you're doing what you're doing. Put it in a sense to where they can understand, whatever age they are, whether they're 3, 4, or whether they're 10, 12, or whether they're 15 or 16. You put it in the sense that where they can understand it, why you're doing what you're doing, and explain it to them so they recognize that you're not trying to hurt them, you're trying to help them. And you're trying to walk through this with them, that you're both are going to be experiencing things. And it'll go over a lot better. Don't be the one, don't be that parent to where you can't be wrong and that you can't do no wrong. Whenever you're in the wrong, admit it. Tell them, I was wrong about this. And then this is and I'm sorry, and but we're gonna work, we're gonna correct that, and we're gonna move forward this particular way. This is what we're gonna do. Those kids will respect that. They can understand that. And at the same time, you're teaching them to do that, which is going to make it a lot easier for them not to be rebellious, because they're not going to rebel when people try to tell them to do certain things. But you do want them to be thoughtful. You don't want them to be accepting everything that someone says to them for them to do, and this way of communicating with them, you will develop that. And I believe you'll have good results.
Sounds great. So let me get a summary here. Instill the values into them early. Keep track of what they're doing and what other people are saying to them. And the most important one, lead by example. That sound about correct?
Yeah, that sounds very much correct. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, hey, that's all the time that we have today. But if there's any specific questions that you have about family life or the topics that we cover in any of the videos, please leave a comment down below and we can address it in one of our upcoming videos. If you like this message and you feel like somebody else needs to hear it, please feel free to share it, and make sure to subscribe to our channel to get updated and notified on all our new uploads, and to see how we can serve you in terms of helping your family grow and building your family relationships. We want to thank all of you for listening, and we hope you have a very blessed rest of the week. Thank you so much.